Hey everyone, this is Dr. Ryan Spurgeon at Healing Neck and Joints in Lenexa, Kansas City area, and I want to do a quick video about the posture pump. Do I think it works? How does it work? Is it beneficial? How should you use it? But I'm going to try to make this fairly quick so I won't get into too much depth, but I just want to give a quick overview. So the posture pump, we're talking about the neck one in this case at least. It's a device that a lot of chiropractors end up selling or using, recommending, but it's designed for your spine, for your neck. The idea is, if we look at your cervical spine, ideally you have a curvature that goes, this is the front of the spine, this is the back of the spine. It has a curvature that is kind of a C-shaped curvature, so it should be more rounded out this way, so towards the front. Anyway, the reason for that, well, I mean, that's just the way our spines naturally are designed. At the front, you can see there is, you have your discs at the front of the spine, and then in the middle, in between there, your spinal cord goes through there. And then at the back, you have these facet joints on either side. They're angled at about a 45-degree angle. I could be, don't quote me on that angle, but they're angled here. And ideally, you have about half of your weight on the front and half of your weight on the back. So if you end up losing that curvature of your neck through either injury to where you're just chronically like to keep your neck forward because it feels better that way, or if you've had some sort of loss of curvature through postural things, whatever it may be, theoretically what that's going to be doing, or practically as well, it's going to be putting more pressure on the front of the spine. It's going to load up your discs a lot more, and so as you load them up more going forward, it's going to squish those discs out the back towards that spinal cord. And so what the posture pump, or anything that, and for that matter, doing that's going to improve that curvature of your neck, even looking up a few times, putting your neck into extension, ideally that's going to be giving more curvature to your spine, more curvature to your neck, and it's going to be taking pressure off of the front and putting more of it on the back, which ideally, that's, in most cases, that's what we want. At least as far as with your curve, if you've got that normal curvature, you're probably about 50% of your weight there, 50% of your weight there. So that eventually, some might say that you're going to be having more degeneration at your spine occurring if you have that loss of curvature, which makes a lot of sense to me and to a lot of people. If you're going to be loading up the front of the spine more, in a way that's typically not designed to, you're going to start having extra bone growth and degeneration happening at these vertebrae, and the discs will start to thin out. So what does this posture pump do? And what it's designed to do, or what they advertise that it does, is it's going to be kind of extending your neck there to a certain extent. The spine, this model doesn't move that well, so it's harder to see, but as we back out a little bit, you can see here's a pump, and as you can see, it pumps up, and like I said, this doesn't really bend over that easily, but as we pump that up, it's going to be bringing that neck over over that. So if you have the weight of your head, bringing the top of your neck and your head down, and you pump this up, it's got an inflatable bladder in there, and it doesn't take much. I would recommend not doing a whole lot at once, and that's going to just put a little extra pressure to kind of open up the space at the front of the joints and give you a little bit more curvature. So do I think it works? I think it does, as far as helping to improve some of your posture at your neck. A lot of chiropractors will recommend just starting, or physical therapists might recommend just starting with a towel, take a towel and roll it up about as tight as you can, and maybe put a piece of tape around it so it's just a solid, maybe 3 inches, 4 inches, probably about 3 inches is all it would need. But you put that, roll that towel up, and you just put that exactly in the place where this posture pump will go. And that would start you in that process, and you can lay on that for say 10 minutes at a time for a little while, maybe a few times a week at least, and it might start to improve that posture, to an extent. So yes, this is a little more active of a way. The other thing I sell, or a lot of chiropractors and physical therapists maybe might talk about selling giving you a device, a foam, basically it's a piece of foam block that is shaped about like this posture pump would be, and you lay on it, and it puts a little pressure at that middle part of your neck, and it helps to improve that curvature. So this is just a little more of an active way of doing it. So you just pump, so rather than just laying on something, it has the active motion of it. So yes, it works. It's going to help bring some of that curvature back. There are some things you have to be careful about. You don't want to overdo it. Is it going to cause terrible issues if you do? Probably not. But if you're having neck issues already to start, I would say definitely start slowly with it. Typically what I'll recommend for people, I don't look at the directions too much of what they say in that, to be honest, but what I typically recommend is just starting out, just pump until you just start to feel a little bit of a stretch at your neck. Let your head and neck relax back as far as you can. You want to put the pump, say your shoulders are about right here. Aim for about the middle of your neck. You definitely don't want it all the way up at the top part of your neck. You don't want to have it press up along that top part of your spine where it's more vulnerable. You want it right at about the middle if you're, go a little lower if you're worried that you're where you're at, but probably right at the middle is fine. And you just pump up just until you're starting to feel a little bit of stretch or tension at the neck. And then then let it set there for maybe 5-10 seconds is what I generally recommend. And then after that, press the little button and it releases, and then do it again. And if you're having issues with your neck, well, you probably should be under the care of somebody if it's real bad. But if you're just starting to have some stiffness and that kind of thing, I think this becomes a great tool for just before it gets bad, before you're starting to have neck vertebrae starting to kind of kink up on you a little bit and a lot of muscle spasm happening. If you just do this, spend only maybe ideally, I'll say this, you should err on the side of doing more, or I should say less, more frequently, as in do maybe 3-4 minutes, and then leave the neck alone for a while. Don't do a bunch of overstretching or anything, just leave it alone. Come back maybe a few hours later, do it again. Do that 3 or 4 times throughout the day, and that will help to a certain extent. But that's a pretty intense regimen, but that might help get you on the way. But again, less, more frequently is probably the key, giving yourself at least an hour or two in between. But otherwise, my standard rule of thumb, I'll say use it maybe 3 times a week to start. Spend about 10 weeks or so with it. And pump up, go through, spend about 5 minutes at a time, maybe up to 10. And yeah, do that for about 10 weeks. I might say actually 10 minutes if you're going to go through that actual routine. But does it work? I think it does to an extent. You have to be careful about it. If people have any more interest about this and some more kind of pointers with it, let me know, and I can maybe further explain it. So these ones, they sell for, I think it is, I want to say they're about $130, $140 brand new. Sometimes you can get them used off eBay or something if you want to go that route. But yeah, I think they're a decent product for what you're going to use, or if you're going to use it, and depending how you use it. But all right, that's all. Thank you, and have a great day.